Before we begin this episode, I'd like to recognize the Harsh Rules Patreon supporters that help make content like this possible. If you'd like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/harshrules to learn more. And once again, thank you for your support. Another way you can support the channel is by liking and subscribing. Liking a video helps me understand what content is successful with this audience. As for subscribing, new content appears on this channel first. While you may have found your way here from Board Game Geek or other sites, in the future I'll also be adding more exclusive content that may only be found here. The best way to be informed when I upload new videos is to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. Once again, thanks for watching, and now let's get to the video. Welcome back to Harsh Rules. I'm Ben Harsh, and today we're going to take a look at Boardgame Books. So I've got about 10 books from my collection that I'm going to show you today. This is not really a top 10 of best books to not so great books or whatever. This is more of a looking at different types of board game books, and I have a sample of each type. So to begin, let's look at basically enhanced rule books. So, or maybe more premium rule books would be the appropriate way of saying that. So this is the Deluxe Rulebook for Arkham Horror. I believe I picked this up as a pre-order for Arkham Horror the 3rd edition. This is the rulebook for Arkham Horror the 3rd edition, so that much is clear. I just can't remember whether I paid for this or not. So this contains the same rules as the retail version, but it also has some special extras. So let's just take a look at this. So it's actually a bound hardcover. Has some additional art in it. Now, one of the things, once we get past all the frill here, one of the things that makes this kind of a special is it actually has a foreword from the original creator of Arkham Horror going over the origins of the 1st edition. So you can kind of see some pictures, and he talks about developing that 1st edition of the game. You can see, obviously, it's much different, the 1st edition, from what we now have in the 3rd edition. So that's just a really nice, Richard Lanius goes through a very nice kind of appreciation or remembering the first version of the game. And then it goes straight into the regular rules of the regular rules of play from the retail version. So all this, we'll skip through this. This is all the rules, the original rule book that you got with the retail version. So then you go through here. It's all kinds of, and then it has some extra, it has the description of some of the towns. So it's basically some lore about some of the towns, so you can learn more about the game. Miskatonic University and whatnot. All the districts in the 3rd edition, gives the background on those. A little bit richer when you play the game. Then it has some stories. I think this is like fiction short stories featuring the characters from the 3rd edition. So you got Calvin Wright, some Lovecraftian stories, Daniela Reyes. Yep. So that is basically the rules plus special content. So that's, they have one of these as well for Twilight Imperium. I could not find my copy. I was going to show it. It's somewhere here. It's probably in the game box, knowing me, and that's the last place I didn't look. But that's that. Now, another really good version, kind of what I would consider the ultimate edition of what you just saw, is this. This is the Hero System World War II Compendium, published by Devil Pig Games. This, mine's a little beat up, but This is, it comes with like a slip cover, and it has, you know, the Compendium Rulebook, and then it has some extra reference sheets. So let's take a look. I'm going to set this aside. So what the Compendium Rulebook is, and it probably is helpful if I show you this back on the spine. The Compendium Rulebook takes all of the rules through the expansions and the separate games. So you got Heroes of Normandy, the base game, Eastern Front, Pacific, North Africa, Shadows of Normandy, and it combines. It doesn't have Heroes of Stalingrad. This was published before then. It takes all those rules and combines them into one book, and that book is, let me turn this around. Actually, I'll get this book. The book combines all those, and it's all updated with notes they've had to improve the game. So this is kind of the master rule book, so to speak, and it's a really nice hardcover, full color, lots of pictures. So it goes through kind of the game book, but it's greatly expanded, or the rule book, but it's greatly expanded. So you've got all kinds of things. So goes through all the rules. So this is really nice. If you are playing a game and you need to go find rules for an expansion that you have, you do not need to hunt down the rule book. You can just go to this and find it, or you're making your own games. See, and then there's got appendices with battlefield additional rules, scenario rules, recruitment options. It just, let me see if we flip through this. It's got lots of art in it. This is a big book. So, sleeping units, cartoon strips. Here's the trains, the derailment system if you have a derailed train. I mean, it's just packed with stuff. Like the Heroes of Normandy girls here. And then all these rules, flamethrowers, it just keeps going and going. Special vehicles. So you got recruitment options. I mean, this is 60 pages of rules, but that includes like everything. So then you have even more stuff. So you got, this is from Shadows of Normandy. So the Shadows rules are in here. So if you're not familiar, Dust is in here. If you're not familiar with Shadows of Normandy, it's basically World War II with Lovecraft in it. See, here's some Lovecraftian type stuff. Necronomicon there. Then it has a full art book, and this game has fantastic art in it. So, show some of the earlier designs, all the character art, which is based off of usually World War II, or excuse me, it's World War II, but it's classic movie actors that are kind of, caricatures with different names to evade copyright or something. So let's see here, from the first game, there's Lee Marvin at the top. Yeah. Charles Bronson, I see that. It looks like Charles Bronson. It's kind of fun just to see. Here's the Matt Damon. Some of these, if you don't recognize them, they're from the expansions and the Kickstarter stuff. So, some really unique stuff. Whoop. the spine. And here's the Shadows over Normandy art, some of the art from that game. So very cool. So yeah, that to me is like the ultimate rule book. It's just the hero system itself. So, and then also this box set came with some reference cards that you can use. I don't think we need to go through those. There's also a new scenario in here, I think, and whatnot. But that is, as far as rule books goes, that's ultimately what you want as a gamer. That you can play this game with a master rule book like that. So when you get away from the rules and you start working your way to other types, you start to get campaigns. So one example of this is our campaign books. Now, Fantasy Flight put this Heirs of Blood campaign out. This is for Descent. And this campaign is in the base game, but this is like a very nice version of it. So you got art and extra information and things. So you can play through it. If you're a huge Descent fan, this is really nice to have. Lots of art and things. It's just, you want to sit down and just kind of go through it. But that is the Heirs of Blood. That's a campaign book. Now, if World War II is more your cup of tea, then you get into more of these guys. So this one is Tide of Iron's designer series. Unfortunately, I believe there's only this one. It's a volume one of just one because they didn't develop anymore. But it's a collection of scenarios, and I think it even says on the back, better than I can, there are 19 designs, and it's like a rock star list of war game designers. So you've got, just to throw some names out. Let me see the ones I'm familiar with. Some of these I'm sure are famous. I don't want to slight them. Chad Jensen from Combat Commander, Jason Matthews, Twilight Struggle, Rick Young, the Fast Action Battle Series. You got Richard Berg, Jack Green. So all these guys in here taking their ideas and making Tide of Iron scenarios. So if you go through the book, once again, this is when Fantasy Flight owned it, not when it went to 1A. I'm sure they would have developed more, but things didn't work out for them. So, you have directions of how to set up the scenario, and then there's usually like a nice designer notes that explain the rationale for, the background around it and whatnot. Oh, there's a background sheet here. So, really nice. If you're a Tide of Iron fan, I mean, I got this book for a song in some Christmas sale. They were just like dumping them. I think I got it for like $8 or something. But really cool. Lots of extra stuff to go through. It's in a variety of scenarios. So, if you have the whole Tide of Iron series, you've got extra stuff to play with that game. So this is a campaign book, and we don't see these very often anymore. The designers prefer to just release box expansions versus books. Now, the crown jewel, probably of this set, unintentionally so, would be these two. So we'll start with this one, the Memoir 44 Campaign Book, Volume 1. Now, when I say crown jewel unintentionally, it's because these books are so flippin' expensive on eBay. These go for a couple $100s a piece now. I think when they came out, they were probably like $30 or something. But nobody sells theirs, nobody gives them up, and when they do show up on the second market, they are extremely expensive. So, basically, this is the same. They have some tokens that come with them. I saw the ship information in there from when I got it. So, This book has instructions, and then you get into how to run campaigns, and then you have just tons of scenarios to play through. Whether it's Breakout, I think they have some of the Overlord in some of these. I mean, you just a whole book of scenarios to play. And the second volume essentially does the same thing. So this is the second volume. Once again, this one is also in the $200 range, ridiculously overpriced. But since Days of Wonder, it's been a long time since they'll squeak out an expansion every once in a while, but their kind of glory days of cranking out Memoir 44 content seems to be over for the most part. Wish it wasn't. It's a shame. Especially, like, these are great books. I wish they'd just reprint them for people, but it's a weird world we live in sometimes, where you can see that these things are highly desired, and the publisher can't be bothered to come out with the books. So more tokens that came with the book, and it's the same as the first. It's just more of it. So more and more campaigns. Here's an Island Hopper campaign. Just fantastic stuff. Very colorful, special rules. So yeah, this is a kind of a treasure now in my collection. I didn't buy them for that much, but they have grown in value, and I don't want to give them up, because I'll probably never get them again. So that is the campaign books, and that is, like I said, most games, it seems now, they opt not to do books. They just put out small boxes and whatnot. Maybe they can sell them easier that way with expansions in them, but this is great stuff. So then if you move into the next set, or next style of books, then you get into how to play. So this is, we're on Memoir 44, the Memoir Tactics and Strategy Guide. This book is basically how to play the game better. And it is, how many pages is it? It's like 500 pages of strategy. So it goes through scenarios. It explains how to use your cards better. It's really interesting because it's someone that it knows the game forwards and backwards. So they're talking about when you want to, you're actually kind of counting cards sometimes and trying to figure out when a card's going to surface, and the right time to play cards and the right way to use your units and things. So yeah, 500 pages of that. If you read through this, you're going to be a better player in some respect. It's almost guaranteed. You're going to learn or see things that you didn't think about when you were playing. So this kind of book, there's not a lot of them. I mean, can you imagine some of these books for like Combat Commander or some of those games? This is once again the heyday of Memoir 44. Actually, this didn't come out that long ago. Memoir 44 has an amazing just body of expansions and games and exclusives and whatnot. And then this book came out towards the end of its main run. It is very cool to read through this and learn all about how to play better. Very cool. I wish there were more books like this for the core, for the big games that you play a lot of. Imagine, a lot of that kind of stuff you need to sift through forums and kind of pick up tips and whatnot. But that is all about memoir. So another great book that I don't have a physical copy of is Total Diplomacy: The Art of Winning Risk. This is another fantastic book in the same line, same vein as the Memoir 44 book we just looked at. It's all about how to play Risk. Philosophy, strategy. It is a fascinating read if you love Risk. It is all about the phases of the game that goes through, not only how to play the game, but how to negotiate with other players, strategies for getting what you want in the game, or dealing with positions where you're getting ganged up by multiple people. It is kind of, in my mind, it's like an essential reading if you're a Risk player, because it goes through all kinds of scenarios and situations you run into and how to deal with it. Fantastic read. Highly recommend it. My copy is on Kindle. I think I got it off of Amazon. There is a physical copy, I believe. So if you don't want to read on a tablet or something, or on an iPhone, you can get a physical copy, I think, still. I'm not sure if it's in print right now, but a fantastic book. And our final book type that we're going to look at today are lore books. And there are a number of them. Now, mainly when you think of the lore type books, miniature gaming, if you're talking Warhammer, I mean, there are whole channels devoted to lore and whatnot. So we're just going to kind of back up from that, because there are so many great books that Warhammer fans have. The books I want to look at today are for Fantasy Flight. So this is the Investigators of Arkham Horror book, and this is a really, if you play in any of the Arkham Horror series with Fantasy Flight, there's a reoccurring cast of characters that show up in each game that you can play, and this book has like a chapter for everyone. So you've got, here's the list. Every chapter in this book is a character, from Ashcan Pete to Jenny Barnes, Lily Chen, Joe Diamond, all these guys. So this is a very, it's a beautiful book, because there's tons of art from the series, and it just goes through, and Wilson Richards, and just tells his story, and a lot of it's in a fiction format to just give you some flavor for what they're all about. And I believe the earlier Arkham Rulebook we looked at had an excerpt from this book. So this is the full book. You got Rex Murphy, you got all these characters in here, and this is a heavy book. So you can see, I'll just kind of flip through it. Hopefully you can see some of the art. It's awkward trying to do this with the camera and all that, but you can see a lot of cool reading here. So if you have a favorite character in the game you like to play, this is like, each of them has their spot. It's great. I'll just flip through it quickly, because otherwise it'll be like a 60-minute video. So check that out. Like I said, yeah. So we're at 198 pages. Let's see how long this thing is. So 262 pages. You cut the index, at least 250 pages probably, if you cut the index and the other organizational pages out, of just lore for Arkham Horror. So great book. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't see a cover. I think it was like $30 or $40 or something. And Fantasy Flight's usually pretty good about reprinting stuff, so even if it goes out of print, they'll usually bring it back. But this is fantastic. If you play any of those games, you have this book adds a lot of background information to help you out. So that's cool. Similarly, although I don't think Fantasy Flight holds the license anymore, they also released this book, The World of Android. So this has this. It's basically another lore book, but it's all for the Android game. So that would be Netrunner and Android, the board game, and all those. So let's see if we flip through here. This is a little easier. Should have done most of them. So you can see, once again, chock full of art from the series. Lots of really nice art for Android. So if you're playing in those games, this gives you all the background for that. if you're into cyberpunk. Great stuff. See, this is the hard part is, and once again, this one is a, let's see if we can flip to the end here. About the same, like 200, and this one looks like close to 270, yeah. So, an enormous lore book, all Android. So, if you're into that game series, you know, this is some great reading material for that. So that's, let me fix my little holder here. That is all the books we're going to look at today. Just thought we'd walk through those. I'm going through my things, trying to get things organized. I'm like, yeah, this would be nice. Let's take a look at some of these books that I have and just give you an idea of what is out there, whether it's a expanded rule book or a premium rule book, it's a campaign book, or it's a lore book. There's a lot of stuff out there. I wish we had more of it. Fantasy Flight does seem to provide us with some of that. Other series, my personal wish list, I'd like to see for the coin games or something that gives you the historical background for each piece, so of the 10 volumes that release the history behind it, and maybe some information, some general rules to play to help people out. That would be really cool. There's a lot of other series that could benefit from a book, or even with more scenarios to play through and whatnot. I mean, a lot of times we get those through little mini box sets now or card packs. Even if you're playing, card games like Arkham Horror, they'll release that through the card, new scenarios through that system. So cool. No, it's Sunday. It's show and tell day on the Harsh Rules channel. Just wanted to show you those books. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and share with your friends. To be the first notified when the next episode of Harsh Rules becomes available, please hit the bell icon for notifications. And as always, this has been Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.